Hello, welcome to the video on Part 4.1 T-Test. My name is Dr. Lydia Jirogi, and I want to walk you through the process of assessing your T-Test output. There are 5 objectives for this video. 1. Review worksheet. 2. Copy tables. 3. Identify key information. 4. Fill in the top part of 4.1. And then 5. Reflect and complete the bottom half. A quick comment before we get into this video. You can skip to specific content using the table of contents listed in the description. This function may only be available if you watch the video on YouTube. You do not have to watch this video from start to finish unless you want to. The left image is of a blank worksheet available on Blackboard. We need to complete this sheet in order to make sure we have everything we need to complete Part 4.1. The first 4 questions should all be listed in Part 1 in the problem statement. It is likely that our surveys didn't match up exactly as we planned though. You'll need to list the research question you actually tested in this sheet. Then create the appropriate hypothesis based on this question. Lastly, identify the variables that you used in this analysis. What was your DV? What was your IV? And what were the names of the groups for this IV? Next, we need to copy over the tables from Part 3 that we used for this analysis. Table 1 is our group statistics table, and Table 2 is our independent sample test table. You should have filled in all major parts of the worksheet. Now it is time to look at the questions of Part 4.1 so we know what numbers to pull. I recommend having these pages open side by side. I'm going to switch my screen so you can see what I mean. Before we begin reviewing our data for the decision page, I want to review the steps for running a t-test one more time. On my screen you can see the question I have selected while I'm working with my trick-or-treat data. My research question is, do trick-or-treaters with nut allergies receive less candy overall? My hypothesis is trick-or-treaters who have a nut allergy have a lower average number of candy obtained than those who do not have a nut allergy. You can see my DV is identified as total candy obtained, i.e. total, in brackets is what it will be named in SPSS. My IV is nut allergy or nut allergy as is named in SPSS. Group 1 is no allergy and Group 2 is allergy. So now let's go through it and run our t-test to get our tables. Alright, we're in SPSS. We go to Analyze, Compare Means, and Independent Sample T-Test. We are going to be able to hit the reset so you can see what it looks like. So for me, I always do the right click, variable names, then total is still our test variable. Nut allergy is our grouping variable. We have to define our groups. So we have 0 and 1 are our groups. Click Continue, click OK. And this is our output that we need to copy over. So let's move this to one side so we can easily work with our pages. Where is... Alright, now we need to copy over our table. So we go right click and copy. Then over here we paste it. And then we right click our second table, copy, and then over here we paste it. And now we need to do a little bit of formatting so it sets up on the page correctly, and then we're ready to get started on the decision page. Our first question is assumption p-value. Let's find that number and highlight it. So over here we see the Levine's test is our assumption test. The p-value is right here. For me it's 0.003, so I'm going to highlight that in yellow. The next is our assumption decision. Did we pass or fail our assumption test? Remember, we're comparing the p-value to 0.05. If you aren't sure of your decision, feel free to check the Interpreting SPSS p-value sheet in Blackboard. So for me, I failed my assumption test, and I know that lets me know that I need to use the bottom line. So I'm going to be down here when I start looking at numbers. Next, we need to find the t-statistic. Some of your versions of SPSS will have a one-tailed and a two-tailed statistic. We want the two-tailed. Let's highlight that bad boy. Let's find him. So for me, it's two-tailed, and I know I'm in the bottom. So we're going to go here and highlight him. I'm going to put him in green, so he's a little bit different. The next, we need now we need to find the p-value associated with that t-statistic, and that's going to be right here. I'm going to put him in green too, so I can clearly see him. And now we are ready to make a decision about our null hypothesis. Do we fail to reject it because there are no differences, or do we reject it because we found a difference? This will also help us answer the group difference question. If we fail to reject, there are no group differences. If we reject, then yes, we had group differences. So let's look at our t-test. So the t is a small t, and the sig, which is our p-value, is really large. So in this case, when we compare this to 0.05, this is larger than 0.05. So for me, I found no differences between people who have nut allergies and who do not have nut allergies on the total number of candy that they obtained when trick-or-treating. And I can see that when I go up to the means. Right here we see that people who have no allergy got 35, people who have an allergy got 32. So roughly the same. Alright, now let's go ahead and put some of those numbers into our actual decision table. So the assumption p-value is 0.003. So I'm going to take the brackets out as always. 0.003, and I'm good there. And up here I failed my test, and then that means I'm going to use the bottom row. Make sure to take out the brackets. My t-test was 0.616, so we'll put that in there. And we need to make sure we remove the other bracket. The p-value for me was 0.54. One thing I do want to make sure to note on this is some of you will get p-values that say 0.000. We never report that. There is a number somewhere just further down. So we always say if SPSS gives us 0.000, we report that as p is less than 0.01. We don't know how much less, we just know that it's less. In my case, that's not a problem, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete this first part. My p is equal to 540, and I don't have to worry about that second part either. Alright, and my null hypothesis, I found no difference, so I'm going to fail to reject it. And delete those. And then group differences, no. There was no difference between my people with allergies and without nut allergies. The next step for us is to fill in the tables. We need to provide the name of the DV, Group 1, and Group 2, and then we need to find the means for Group 1 and Group 2 to report them. So this is our first table. We know our dependent variable for us is going to be total. That's that last one. Then Group 1 name is going to be no allergy. Group 2 is going to be allergy. I need the mean for Group 1, and that's going to be right here. I'm going to put this in, let's do light blue. And put this one in light blue as well, so we know those are kind of a pair. So the no allergy was 35.54 pieces of candy, and the allergy mean was 32.50 pieces of candy. And then, oh, we need to make sure we get that total. Oh, that total is the name. Okay, so we're done with that table, and now we need to move on to our second table. So we need to make sure we get all of these numbers. The first statistic we're getting is the F, which is our assumption test. So F for us, we're going to highlight. That one's going to be in red. I don't usually like to use red, but sometimes you just run out of colors. So we know that this one is going to be 8.951. The p-value, which we've already highlighted once, is going to be 0.003. One pro tip that we want to make sure is that we've already reported this number once before, so we should definitely make sure that those match up. So we see the assumption p-value there and there. Alright, and then we need to copy both t-test numbers or t-statistics for the assumed and not assumed. And that's going to give us 0.557 and then the bottom number 0.616. Then we have our p-values are going to be 0.578 and 0.540. Alright, so those are all the statistics. One thing I do want to make sure to point out is there's some wonky formatting that's gone on with this table, so I want to make sure that I unbold and ununderline all of this. Perfect. Actually, let's bold it. I want the numbers bolded. And I'm going to put them in centered. I like that. I think it looks good. And then we need to make sure we add our dependent variable name, and that's going to be total. And we'll bold the name of the variable. Alright, and that's what we needed to do for the tables. Once you've completed all of your tables, you will need to reflect on your findings and the process that you went through. In the conclusion, I want to see an APA correct reporting of your t-statistic. You will need to find this information on your own, as there is a wealth of information about reporting test statistics in Google and on various websites. Some final comments. As always, make sure you update your page numbers. This latter half of each decision page is testing your critical thinking and writing skills. The quality and clarity of your answer will have a serious impact on your grade. I expect you to apply terms and concepts that you've learned in this semester to your answers. Best of luck, and as always, please feel free to contact me with any questions.